What's going on, guys? TheAireaidLord's here. Yes, TheAireaidLord is here. I always do that mic tap to see if the microphone's working. So, a couple days since I've uploaded something to the channel. Last thing I uploaded was the Game of Thrones Season 7 review, which didn't do too great. Views-wise, I mean, obviously my Walking Dead Season 7 vlog review did better just because, I mean, this channel, again, is more of a focus on Walking Dead than Game of Thrones. And hopefully this vlog appeases people because it's been, I think, a while since I've actually done a proper Walking Dead vlog. I had some buzz for it around July when the trailer launched for Season 8. And ever since... I've done some predictions, but other than that, it's just kind of been a lull period. I haven't felt the spark just because, again, there hasn't been any new footage or anything really released for Season 8. They've been keeping it under wraps. Apparently on September 10th, there is a preview to Season 8, like some exclusive on AMC. Might review that. We'll see. I was hoping to do some type of review for the Blu-ray for Season 7 for Walking Dead, but it didn't have any of the Negan swearing in it for some dumb reason. Even though Jeffrey Dean Morgan confirmed that they did the F-take, as he called it, but it was nowhere to be seen in the Blu-ray. We had the only major deleted scenes was Glenn and his kid in that dream sequence extension, and then the scene from the finale where Carl asks if Rick would have really cut off his arm. Those are the only two major scenes. Everything else was just really small deleted scenes that didn't really add any substance to the show. So I didn't really do a review. I know last year I did a reaction video to the uncensored Negan version that was in the Season 6 Blu-ray because you had that long monologue from the end of Season 6 and they included that in there. But for some reason they didn't include, I don't know, maybe they wanted to look at fan response to it and gauged whether they should have put it in the Blu-ray. There's a possibility it might be put in the special extension version. I'm not sure when that even comes out, but if I see it on YouTube and I see it online, then I'll adjust it and I'll do a reaction for that, but I just haven't seen anything for it. So, but today's topic is how many seasons of The Walking Dead do I think should be aired? This was, again, I was thinking of topics that I haven't covered on my channel before. I've done countdowns, I've done top episodes, I've done predictions for certain characters. Again, it's easier to do those vlogs when there's more events happening for the show that I can discuss. Again, kind of hard now. Also, I'm still trying to figure out an intro that I can put for these new vlogs. As you guys remember, I had an intro for the Season 7 vlogs, but I need a new intro for Season 8. I want to utilize something from the trailer, and I had that old Walking Dead theme song, which I might keep. Maybe I'll just intercut scenes from the trailer and put it in. I'll have to take a look. It depends. So yeah, future perspective stuff. But how many seasons of the show do I think should air? That's what our topic is. I don't know, maybe 12. I'll say 12. Again, I fear that I don't want the show to get oversaturated because people already felt that way with Season 7. I think the cliffhanger illuminated that. The Season 6 cliffhanger of who Negan killed, that illuminated not the cliffhanger. Well, it did illuminate a cliffhanger, but it illuminated the fact that the show could get stagnant. And people were pissed off with that cliffhanger, and they said, well, I need a reason to invest in this show. If the show's going to be slow after these monumental deaths, why am I going to keep investing time into it? And I think that was how it transitioned. If you gave people a satisfying payoff with a death when Negan was introduced, it might have gone differently, and I'm serious about that. Making people wait those months to figure out who died, even if the episode was really well directed and shot and acted, still, I think the circumstances of that cliffhanger, in this day and age with information on social media and the internet being so viable, it just kind of it wasn't a good recipe. And that was part of the reason why I had backlash to it. I knew the community would be pissed off, and I was as well, but at the same time, I was understanding the repercussions of where this might lead in terms of fan outcry and backlash. So those are the main things you have to think about when thinking how many seasons of the show you want aired. 12 seems reasonable, but I know the comic book is continuously releasing issues. I think a new issue was just released recently. I might have to check that out. And the show is catching up to the comics with All Out War being covered in season 8. That was issues 117, 120 to 129. And right now the comic is in around issue 170. So the show has to still deal with the Whisperers, which is another group entirely. How they deal with the Whisperers. There's still a lot to deal with. The 2-year time skip, which they might extend. They might make it a longer time skip if they want to maybe age Judith up. That, because I've said this to a few of my friends. I think one of the big ways they can make this show interesting after Negan's defeated, because in my opinion, like, I fear that the show might get stagnant after Negan's defeated. After All Out War and Negan's either killed or defeated, where does the show go from there? You know, the Saviors are your biggest group. The show has built these guys up to be a real empire, way more than the comic did. It really, from the ocean side and all these people who have been infected, the kingdom, they've really given you the impression that the Saviors are an empire. That Negan's created an empire literally from all these outposts. I mean, think of all the Saviors that Rick's group killed in season 6, and there's still a shit ton more. I mean, they got numbers, man. So for this war to end, you've built this incredible adversary, and then season 8 will supposedly take them out of the picture. How can you follow that up is what I want to ask. And will rebuilding civilization, will having all of these trade networks, will that be interesting for fans to see? Like, what conflict are you going to keep in the show to keep all of this viable? Now, I will say that the comics did kind of get a little stagnant after Negan was defeated. It was interesting to see how civilization rebuilt itself. And all the tech, they actually, implemented some pieces of technology, such as a windmill and other pieces, into their society with the trade network between the Hilltop, Alexandria, and the Kingdom. And it was interesting to see how people adapted. And Rick was a bit older, but his role was a bit reserved because he had sustained some injuries from the conflict with Negan, and he was kind of this hobbly old man. And he was, sorry, I just got a text from somebody. And so he was just this hobbly old man that was just trying to keep this society together. And he was a leader that people respected, but he was more of a diplomatic force rather than the throat-ripping, AK-47-wielding guy that we know now. And we've seen some hints that this will happen. The ending of the Season 8 trailer, we see Rick with a giant beard and a cane resting against a desk, and you see him wake up in bed. People have said, there's obviously some confusion if you haven't read the comics, and I thought originally, I was tricked when I did my reaction. I thought that it was some illusion or flashback to the hospital in season 1, but it's meant to make you think that, but at the same, it's actually going in a different direction, where it's Rick after he sustains some injuries and he wakes up. So he takes on this more diplomatic, almost like Tiana from Alexandria. He basically takes on the diplomatic, like a senator, basically. And he's the ruler that people chose, and he doesn't fight. He doesn't really fight, and he just maintains the society and maintains the peace. And I'm hoping people don't think that's boring, and that seems, again, to be the direction we're going. By the end of the Season 8 trailer, that seems to be a flash forward to what we can expect. Also, the Walking Dead logo is no longer all decayed and broken. It's now completely white and filled in, which makes me think this is the start of a new beginning. The show is trying to say this is a new beginning for the show. How can you pull that off, though? Like, is Negan's defeat going to radically change the show enough? Maybe, again, if you did a time jump of maybe 5 or 10 years, that would be substantial, because then you have a teenage Judith, a much older Carl. You have Maggie's son/daughter, which I think it's son from the dream sequence. You have some new characters, and I think they're characters that we've had in the show forever. Like, Judith's been in the show since season 3, but she's just been a baby. She hasn't been able to do anything, but if you give her now a role where she's older, that'd be pretty cool. Judith is not alive in the comics, so having her alive in the show is something that's new and fresh. And I think having her as a viable member of Team Rick Grimes and having Rick teach her things and Carl teach her things, that would be pretty cool. I would love to see her integrated into the society of The Walking Dead in this post-Negan world that they create. again, because I like the comics, I'm always interested to see how they adapt things. I know the Whisperers are the next big adversary after the Saviors, and they're basically just savages that like to wear zombie skin. And it'll be interesting, because, again, that's a different philosophy. It's a different philosophy from Negan's dictator ways. It's different than the governor's psychopath ways. It's different than the cannibal ways of Terminus. Even the cops trying to isolate themselves in that stupid hospital. So every adversary has a different philosophy about how they handle the apocalypse. And again, I like that. So you're not having Negan 2.0s every single time. Like, we don't come across another Negan who's super ultra powerful and, you know, has a bigger army and has tanks and helicopters or some bullshit like that. Like, you know, you don't want to milk it for having all these adversaries. You build one up and then you kill them. You build one up and then you kill them. I think having different types of villains keeps the show interesting, and we're still following Rick's the spectrum of Rick's mental psychosis in this apocalypse, and how these adversaries of different philosophies influence that. That's how I view it. So 12 seasons, again, like, what's the end game for? And some people have said this as a viable excuse as to why they don't like the show. What's the end game here with not Game of Thrones. I almost said Game of Thrones, but with Walking Dead, what's the end game? Is it to cure the zombie virus? Robert Kirkman has said many times that he doesn't intend his show to be something like World War Z, where they want to cure the virus. We had some hints about that when Eugene potentially knew the cure, but that turned out to be bullshit. Season 1, with Edwin Jenner, we had some semblance of the scientific nature of this virus, but that was quickly discarded. So I don't know what the end game is. It's more for them just to survive. And as long as I like the characters, I'm invested in it. But again, I don't want it to drag out and get boring. Game of Thrones, like I just said, Game of Thrones has an end game. For anyone who's seen that show, defeat the White Walkers, and somebody at the end of this thing is going to be on the Iron Throne. Now, there's always going to be political conflicts even after the White Walkers are defeated. But the first scene of Game of Thrones showed the White Walkers killing people. And it showed that as a viable, like a real threat, like a real threat that's looming in the background. And it looms in the background for seasons and seasons and seasons. And only, and again, this is a spoiler for Game of Thrones, but only at the end of season 7, when there's an undead dragon melting the wall and they actually breach through the wall, do you understand how serious this threat is. And even in previous episodes, season 5 at Hardhome and other battles, do you see how serious the White Walkers are, while there's other political things going on. So The Walking Dead has always had its walkers at the forefront. That's always the conflict. But with The Walking Dead, it's the fact that the humans, it actually twists it. The humans are the bigger conflict. The walkers are stupid and easy enough to handle. Only when they're in larger numbers do they become a problem. But it's not like the White Walkers in Game of Thrones, where you have to have specific, you have to have dragon glass or Valyrian steel or fire. You can't kill them with conventional weapons. They're too hard to kill. They're OP. The walkers in this show, the only thing they have in The Walking Dead is numbers. All they have is numbers. So, and it seems like at this stage, our survivors know how to deal with them, and they use walkers to attack other people, and sometimes to use them as shields, like in the Sanctuary, to keep them out of the base. So, again, it's more just humans versus humans, and some people haven't liked that. They think it's just a big TV drama with all these characters getting whiny and attacking each other and getting killed off, and rinse and repeat. And again, I hope that the new philosophies and formulas of the show can keep it entertaining, and that hopefully we have some endgame in the future, that there's some type of civilization, or there's some maybe hope that there's a cure, or I would love to know how the virus started. There's always that mystery, how did the virus start? And again, I know Kirkman doesn't like to go there, but it might be a cool place to go if you need to wind down the show. If AMC starts to see the show really lagging and really just kind of in a rut, I think it might be smart to maybe jump to that, jump to the answers, jump to getting answers. Where do we go from here answers. So, those are all my predictions. 12 seasons. I think that would be justifiable for where the show's going. right now, obviously, I'm super pumped because All Out War so far is the best section of the Walking Dead comics with battles back and forth. And we've got all of our characters versus all of our other characters. We've got high stakes. We got fucking tigers. We got bullets and rockets and all sorts of shit going on. The trailer hyped me up. I'm excited for it. Those cars with the freaking armor and stuff on it, great. Looking cool. Very excited. And I'll do more character predictions and stuff in the future until we build towards our first reaction video on October 22nd, which is right there, as you can see. I'm so excited, man. I'm looking forward to this conflict, and I hope you guys join in with me. So that'll be it. I'll probably have more predictions and stuff going on. I won't be reacting to Fear the Walking Dead, if anyone's wondering. Again, I don't do reactions for that show, as I've mentioned many times. So just wanted to say that. So thank you guys for watching. Peace out. Stick around for more content.